The countdown to opening day is officially upon us as expectations are building for this Phillies team, but unfortunately, some negative news has entered the locker room as a key member of this team looks trending towards ending up on the injured list before the season even starts. I'm going to break down the latest on the status of Matt Strahm, what we know on his situation, what our level of concern should be that this is something that lingers into the season, and why I believe this is better to get it out of the way now than later on in the year. But let's dive into everything in this video. And before I get to it, do want to remind you guys to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, just 31.1% of you guys watching these videos have subscribed to the channel just yet. We want to get this Phillies Digest family growing. It is almost opening day, and I'm excited about this team, but not excited about what we just heard about Matt Strahm. And what exactly that is, shout out to Todd Zalecki, who tweets out, Matt Strahm today talked about his ailing left shoulder. It's unclear if he'll be ready for opening day, but he knows he needs to play it smart. Quote, "It's only March. We have bigger plans for this team than March." And to dive into a little bit of what Strahm is dealing with, we have from Zalecki as well that, quote, "An MRI exam recently revealed that Strahm has an impingement in his left shoulder, which has caused inflammation, irritation, and a bone bruise. There is no structural damage." And that is the biggest point that I did want to hit on right there, is there isn't anything structurally wrong with the shoulder to this point. That is a huge sign for a guy that is a huge part of this Phillies bullpen. And I do think Strahm is the guy with the most amount of pressure on him entering the season. This injury, if it is to start out the season, does leave them a little bit light on left-handers to start the year, but that is a small price to pay, assuming this is a one-time thing. For the Phillies specifically, before you get into the grind of the season, before this whole, marathon kicks off, which we know the baseball season to be, all focus should be on getting him in right in the short term and then maximizing your odds in the future. And it does feel like that is the mentality from the team, certainly by Strahm himself. And to talk a little bit more in depth about what specifically he said, this coming from Zalecki's article directly here. He writes, Strahm has a $4.5 million club option for 2026 that escalates in value based on innings pitched this season. If Strahm pitches 60 innings, the option automatically vests to $7.5 million. Quote, "Selfishly, I want to throw 60 innings, so I guarantee myself and my family will be back in Philly next year," Strahm said. "But I understand the business. I also understand this team is destined to do great things, so I need to put that before myself." Strahm said he did not receive any injections, although he is taking oral anti-inflammatories, or inflammatories. There we go. "The inflammation impingement has caused my humeral head in my shoulder to not be in proper position," Strahm said. "So when I try and lay it back, it's kind of banging on my shoulder, so I have a little bone bruise in there. I had it come up when I started throwing. As the intensity increased every time, it would hurt. I went from catch to bullpens. First bullpen, it kind of hurt. Then second and third felt better. Fourth, fifth, kind of hurt. Sixth, seventh, felt better. My bullpen, as soon as I upticked the intensity, it was like, dang, that kind of hurt. And after my second Grapefruit League outing on Wednesday, it was like, I'm not recovering like I should. I was trying to suppress it." So I am glad that Strahm spoke up, acknowledged this here, and that is kind of one of those weird things that guys notice across all sports here, is when you have a little bit of an injury or something that's bothering you in one area, your body kind of naturally overcompensates, and that tends to create problems down the line. It does feel like this was the route he was heading down, so hopefully this does reverse things. Now, to continue on with the article, it writes, Strahm, 33, is a critical piece of the Phillies bullpen. He went 6-2 with a 1.87 ERA in 66 appearances last season and made his first All-Star team. The only other lefties in the Phillies bullpen are Jose Alvarado and Tanner Banks. Strahm's shoulder could create an opportunity for a reliever on the 40-man roster like Devin Sweet, who has pitched well in camp. It also probably entrenches Taijuan Walker into a bullpen role. He has pitched well in 2 starts this spring. Strahm struggled in his only 2 spring appearances, allowing 6 runs on 3 hits, 3 walks, and 1 home run, while striking out 3 1/3 innings. His four-seam fastball averaged 91.5 miles per hour after averaging 93.4 miles per hour last spring. Quote, "This is something I don't want to be done with," Strahm said. "I'm only 33 years old. I want to play this game until I'm 40. It's something I've got to take care of, and I've got to make sure it doesn't linger in the future, so I'll do as I'm told." So my biggest takeaway here is it does feel like everyone's head is in the right place. That from the Phillies' perspective, they're taking this seriously. They're shutting him down. They're getting him right in the short term. From Strahm's perspective, exact same situation. That his future, or his focus, is on his future. And I do love that he snuck in that he wants to maintain in Philadelphia here. Strahm is a guy who is one of those psycho competitors that I do think is built for the city and built for like a high-level bullpen role. He is a guy that is just kind of off the walls, wired in a way that I very much respect there. And to kind of reflect on his stats for last season, we did see a little bit of him already, but in his 66 games, so assuming assuming he does replicate this, he would reach that 60-game total, or my point being there that it is certainly attainable based on how often he will be called upon. But he struck out 79, allowed just 36 hits. That's just 5.2 hits per 9 innings, a 1.87 ERA, and a .750 whip there. Pretty impressive stuff. 66 games, 62.2 innings pitched there. And I do think the pressure or expectation for him is even higher this season. To take a look at the depth chart as a whole, do want to pull this up for the Phillies, and we'll go a little bigger. You can see Strahm right at the top there, that he is going to be the highest leverage lefty that they have. It is a huge year for Jose Alvarado, by the way. I know this was mentioned as the only really other left-handed option. I'm a bigger Tanner Banks guy than I would probably say the general consensus there. I think Banks is going to be a totally fine, serviceable, middle of the bullpen type guy, and I think he might even climb the pecking order a little bit this season. But Alvarado is a guy where there's really pressure on. Can he return to the high leverage version of himself that he proved to be for a stretch? Let's not forget there was a period of time in which Alvarado was incredibly important to this Phillies bullpen, that he was the guy that could straight up rear back and throw it by you in a way that nobody else really can in this bullpen. I want to see that version of him again. Now, by all accounts, he's looked great in spring training, has certainly lost a great deal of weight. It's one of those like transformations where you look at the guy and you're like, wow, that does not look like the Jose Alvarado I'm accustomed to seeing there, but we will see how that actually transfers to his actual baseball ability. I will say, while it is obviously great to get in the best peak condition that you can get in, I think part of Alvarado's charm and effectiveness was this raw power, this, powerful human being that he is. We see all like the quotes of him on the bench calling himself fat, all those kind of things. All I care about is the results. Whatever does the job, my man. If that is you putting up extra reps on the bench press, if that is you cutting down the calories a little bit, or if that is you digging into the ice cream, as long as you are playing your best baseball, that's all I care about. But do give a little respect to him for trying something different. Now to look at some of these other options in the bullpen, it does feel like this is a high-risk sort of operation here. What I mean by that is all these guys have kind of little asterisks next to him. Alvarado, all the reasons that I just mentioned, that he was ridiculously inconsistent and the control issues were a clear problem last year. Then we got a guy like Jordan Romano, who has proven to be or flashed to be one of the better relievers in baseball for stretches, but is also coming off a really disappointing season there. Ryan Kerkering, a guy that I have full faith in, but we're asking him to take that next leap into not just this exciting young pitcher, but a guy that can be a staple in this bullpen. Joe Ross is going to be a pretty interesting one. They seem really high on him and really tied to him as a bullpen. He has pitched as sort of a swing guy thus far in his career. That is a guy who I could see getting extended opportunity early on, largely because of this Strahm issue, but that has got to keep an eye on as well. And I do think one of the larger takeaways here is Taijuan Walker survives again. And I do think that he will settle into this bullpen role a little bit. I'm rooting for Taijuan Walker at this point. I just kind of have a lot of respect for the way that he's handling himself. Every answer that I read from, the way that he kind of wears the responsibility on his chest for not being good enough and still ready to show up. So I do hope there is a little reinvention of Taijuan Walker, and maybe he can make the most of this type of opportunity. But I don't really have confidence in that being the case. That is just more something I am rooting for. But the biggest story of today is, of course, the status of Matt Strahm. So we're going to rest with a little bit of positivity, knowing there is no structural damage. This is something that you shut him down for a little bit, and he should bounce back just like normal. So we're going to hope that is the case there. We will stay tuned for any more updates. If we get anything as far as timeline, anything else with this Phillies team. But I'm excited to get to some live action that is happening soon. So as always, do remind you guys one more time to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. That 68.9% of you guys watching these videos have not subscribed just yet. So let's get those numbers up. Let's get this Phillies Digest family continuing to grow. And I'll be back talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.